Welcome to the flipped instructional session for Math 08A for Unit 603, Functions. Our objectives today are to determine whether a relation is a function, to define function inputs and outputs, and evaluate a function using its graph, table, or equation. So the vocab we need to talk about today are the domain, which are the possible inputs, which are also the x values. So input, x values. The range are the possible outputs, which are our y values. Outputs are y values. A function is a relation that has only one y for every x. And the vertical line test is a test we use to determine if a relation is a function. So my writing is kind of crazy, so let's take a look. Domain are the inputs, the range are the outputs, so y and x. And a function is a relationship that each member of the domain exactly one member of the range. So for every x, there is only one y. So what is the domain and the range? The domain are the x values, so -3, 6, 5, and -9. The range, 7, 2, -1, -6. Simple as that. Domain are the inputs or the x, range are the outputs or the y. So here helps us with that vertical line test. Is the relation a function? So if I were to draw a line, let me find my line here. If I take a line and I move it across my function, if it hits two places at once, like it does here, it is not a function. It can only hit one spot at a time, because this shows us for the x, -7, we have two y values. So the x has two y's, so for every x, there's more than one y. So it is not a function. So this will look real similar to what we've done in the past. It says match the x value to the corresponding y value. So these are just ordered pairs. We have a function. In this case, we can see this is linear. We know that. We have an x and a y. We know how to write this in point slope and slope intercept. We know how to graph it. We know all kinds of things. And we actually know how to determine if what is the y value for this function. So this is just a fancy word that we haven't seen before, function. We've been calling it linear equation because as math goes on, there are different types of functions. So that's all we're talking about here. So what do? We plug in 0, 3, -3. So let's plug in 0 first. That's always easier. For x, 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3y equals 24. So we solve, divide by -3. So y equals -8. Now we do the same thing, but instead of using 0, we use 3, because that was the input. The x value, the input is 3. 6 minus 3y equals 24. So this time we do need to move the 6. So -3y equals 24 minus 6, which is 18. Divide by -3, y equals -6. So that was for number 2. So if we've all done it right here, when we plug in this last one, we will get negative 10. So we add 6. Divide by 3. So we do get negative 10. So we've done all of this before. This is nothing new. You'll find in Unit 6 that we're just calling things different words to help us get ready for moving on from linear to some other things. All right, so here's a graph. Let x equal 1. Evaluate the function for y. So x equals 1 is right here. So we come all the way up and we hit the function. So what is the y value here? The y value is just 5. So you need to come over on the x and then come up to the function and read the y value. Let x equal negative 5. Evaluate the function for y. So these are just some words. Evaluate is a fancy word for solve. Function is just a fancy word in this case for equation, but remember a function means for every x, there is only one y. All right. Y equals 4.7 times negative 5 minus 6. And drop my calculator. All right, so 4.7 times negative 5 is negative 23.5. Negative 23.5 minus 6 is negative 29.5. So that's our function value. So we've done it from an equation and we've done it from a graph. Be sure to check up your Class Connect schedule for the flipped follow-up, as well as for Help Lab if you want extra support. Thanks.